Hello and welcome to ChartMill. In this video I will show you a couple of ways to find good swing trading setups using the stock screen at ChartMill. Now, to be clear, good setups are no guarantee that a trade will be profitable at all. No one has a crystal ball, including myself. But a list of quality setups that can serve as a basis will at least allow you to concentrate on the stocks that offer the best opportunities. To this end, I use ChartMill, a stock screener tool that tracks nearly 23,000 stocks worldwide, both fundamentally and technically. If you don't have any experience with ChartMill yet, I recommend that you take a look at the ChartMill Academy playlist, which will get you started quickly with this stock screener. So basic use of ChartMill is completely free, and all you have to do is create a free account for which you only need a valid mail address. So let's get started. Personally, I always start by checking what the general trend is in the financial markets, and to do this I first look at a number of US long-term index ETFs. Specifically the SPY, QQQ, DIA and the IWM. I have all four ETFs in one watch list, so I can easily call them up. I use the two charts option to view both the daily and weekly chart side by side. This way I very quickly have an overall picture of the medium and long-term trend. On the daily chart I have displayed the SMA 10 and SMA 20 by default, and on the weekly chart on the right you can see the ChartMill trend indicator. This is a regular 30-week average line. Green is bullish, red is bearish and gray is neutral. And I use this 30-week average line because I am a big fan of the stage analysis method covered in Stan Weinstein's book Secrets for Profiting in Bull and Bear Markets, where that 30-week average line plays an important role in determining the long-term trend. Once I know how the general market is doing, I check out the performance of the different sectors. And to do so, click the sectors section in the main menu on the left. If you don't see this main menu, just click on these three horizontal bars in the upper left corner. The next screen offers an overview of the different sectors, groups and industries for the US, Europe and Canada. And you can choose between the GICS and NICS classification. A big advantage of this stock screener is the combination of both fundamental and technical analysis, and also on the sector page you can compare the different sectors and industries both technically and fundamentally. If we compare the sectors purely from a price perspective, it is striking that the energy sector has done very well over the last 6 months. In every column the sector is at the top. So it depends a bit on what time frame you are trading on. If you trade fairly actively and at short notice, then it is advisable to keep your eye on the performance of the last week or 1 month at the most. If you mainly want stocks which have been performing well for a longer period, then you should also take a look at the results at the 3 and 6 months period. If you want to compare fundamental ratios between different sectors, you can click on the FA View button. However, bear in mind that specific financial ratios are sector specific, so it is best to compare them between companies that are part of the same sector, and how to do that will be covered later in this video. So now that we know that the energy sector is one of the best performing sectors in terms of price, we can proceed with the actual stock screener. On the stock screener page, you can see in the blue bar on the left that there are over 22,500 stocks available in our database. But that will soon change once we apply a number of filters. First of all, we are going to limit the selection to only the energy sector. We do this by selecting the energy sector in the general menu under the sector tab. With just this one filter applied, we've reduced the total number of stocks to about 650 shares. By default, I have the view set to charts, but if you prefer to see the results in table view, you can do so quite easily by opening the drop-down menu in the blue bar next to View and selecting the option Overview Table. One of the advantages of this overview table is that you can compare all the stocks from the same sector based on their relative strength number through the ChartMill relative strength column. This figure is calculated by looking at the performance of each stock over the past year, but more weight is given to the most recent performance of the last quarter. The higher the value, the stronger the stock is compared to its peers in the same sector. More than 600 shares is still far too many to scan manually. Moreover, we want to ensure that the shares we trade are easily tradable. This is also called the liquidity of a stock. For that purpose, we use a volume filter that you will also find in the general section. Select the option Average Volume and choose the desired option. I use a minimum average daily volume of 300,000. This reduces the number of shares that still qualify to almost half. The price filter can also be useful, for example, if you want to exclude shares that are priced too high. Using the predefined filters, you can specify, for example, that you only want to keep shares of which the price is less than 20 euros or dollars. Via the custom menu, you can actually set any price you want. And I will give an example where I select all the stocks that quote at most $50 or 50 euros. That is not available. It is also a number that is not available in the predefined filters. So I first delete the previously set price filter. Go to the custom tab and at the top field select property. Select current price. In the middle field select less than or equal to. And for the bottom field, first select constant and then enter the value 50. Press enter and then add filter. You've just created your own custom filter, so you only get shares now with a maximum price of 50 euro or dollars. In the same way, you can also set a minimum price for each share. Finally, when searching for buying candidates, we only want to withhold the shares of which the trend is positive. There are several ways to do so in ChartMill, and a well-known and widely used method is to select only the stocks that are trading above their 200 daily simple moving average. Click on the Performance menu and use the Price versus SMA section to select the price above SMA 200 option. Again, a number of stocks will be dropped from the final selection. A quick side note here, if you are not familiar with moving averages, you can read this article where you will find more information, and I place a direct link to the article below the video. With these basic filters, we have already excluded quite a few stocks. And before we can go any further, it is important to know what type of strategy you will be using. The two most common ways to swing trade are breakouts and price retracements. Which of the two you choose is a purely personal choice. If you have little experience, it's recommended to test out both strategies with a paper trading account and find out which strategy you feel most comfortable with. There is no better or worse way, so use the strategy which best suits your preferences. Let's start by screening for breakouts. The basic filters are already set, so we'll move on to the more specific filters. A very important aspect in swing trading is momentum. This means that there is suddenly much more interest in a certain stock. And when a stock suddenly attracts more people, we speak of rising momentum. To measure this momentum, we examine the volume. We look for stocks of which the volume has risen strongly compared to the day before, which is a proof that the stock is very popular among investors or traders. In ChartMill, we track down those stocks via the Indicators menu, where you have several options under the Volume Increase section. You can simply stipulate that the volume of the last trading day should be higher than yesterday, but even better is to look for the outliers. For the breakout strategy, I therefore always start with the choice volume 100% more than previous volume. The number of remaining shares will of course decrease considerably as a result of this. So if you notice that you hardly have any shares left, you can set this filter a bit less strict by going for volume 50% more than previous volume, for instance. For trading breakouts, we look for shares which have broken out above an important price level. Several options are possible, and you can find them through the section Performance and then Signal. Click on the inverted triangle next to it, and in the drop-down menu you now have several choices. For this video, I'm using the option New 52-week High. Thus, by doing so, we will only be shown the stocks whose most recent price reached a new highest annual price intraday. Again, you have the option to set the filter less strict and, for example, to choose New 10-day High or New 20-day High. Now, how to add specific indicators and overlays to your chart is explained in this video that appears somewhere on your screen right now. And this video is part of our ChartMill Academy playlist. So for retracement setups, we are looking for stocks in a rising trend whose price has fallen back slightly and where we want to buy the stock on the assumption that the rising trend will resume. The easiest way to detect those short declines in a rising trend is to look at the price of the stock in relation to some commonly used moving averages. First, I'll briefly explain why I use that specific method. These are some stocks in a rising long-term trend. The lines below them are the SMA 10, SMA 20 and SMA 50. And typical for price retracing is that stocks that temporarily decline find support around these averages. On the charts you can clearly see that the price has repeatedly rebounded from these levels, after which the long-term trend continued. We will therefore make use of this by looking for shares which are close to one of these moving averages. To do so, go to the Performance menu, and under the Price versus SMA tab you can set different price filters based on the price versus SMA. One possibility, for example, is to choose the option Price crosses SMA 20 from below. You will then get all shares of which the most recent closing price has crossed the SMA 20 upwards, and where the price may thus resume its upward trend. And you can also test this with, for example, a simple moving average on a 10 daily period. Another possibility is to use the filter Price in 2% range of SMA 20 and check the results. Or you can specify, for example, that the price of the stock lies between the SMA 20 and the SMA 50. For this you need to combine two filters. First, choose Price below SMA 20, by which you define that the price is lower than the SMA 20, and next you choose Price above SMA 50, which means that the price is higher than the SMA 50. In this way you have defined that the current price lies between the SMA 20 and the SMA 50. For retracements I always choose an additional volume and price filter, and for the volume filter I again go to the Indicators tab, and under Volume Increase I choose the option Volume more than previous volume. To set a price filter, go back to the Performance menu and use the Today's Performance filter, which I set to at least 0%. This ensures that all stocks are excluded whose price has dropped in the last trading day. As you can see, the possibilities are very diverse. Be sure to check out this video in which I go into more detail about scanning for moving average pullbacks. A tip to use the scanner as efficiently as possible is to either start very wide and, depending on the number of candidates left, set the filters more strictly, or you can also work the other way around and start with strict filters. If you then notice that there are too few setups left, you can set a number of filters to be less strict. In this way you will have a final selection of breakout or retracement setups to proceed with, and this can be purely price technical, but also a more fundamental comparison of these companies within the same sector is certainly a possibility. To get a quick overview of a number of important fundamental ratios, you can change the view via the blue bar to FA table, where a number of frequently used ratios are listed next to each other. You can sort each column from high to low or vice versa. Personally, I always use the ChartMill fundamental rating from high to low. If you like to consult the detailed information of a company, you can click on the first icon in the Action column on the far right, which will take you to the profile page of the stock. From there, you can consult all kinds of additional information, such as an extensive technical and fundamental report, analyst ratings, the outlook for the company figures itself, who the main shareholders are and what insider transactions have recently occurred, and finally also the news that was released about the company. So to summarize, in this video I have shown two ways in which you can use a number of filters in ChartMill to obtain a good basic selection of stocks to trade either breakouts or price retracements. And you can then use this list to compare the companies with each other and finally decide which companies are worth buying. Now, keep in mind that even the best setups can fail, and that losing trades will simply be part of any trading strategy. How you deal with losing trades is to a great extent decisive for your success in the stock market. This series of articles about money and risk management, available in our documentation section, can help you with that. Finally, preparation is half the battle, and a quality stock screener like ChartMill can certainly contribute to that. So trade safe, and I see you in the next video.